The Bayou Group's offices, once alive with ambition and the hum of productivity, now felt suffocating and eerily silent. The energy that once pulsed through these halls had faded, replaced by a heavy stillness that seemed to press in from every corner. Each step echoed with uncertainty, as if the very walls were holding their breath, waiting for something to break the tension. Empty chairs in boardrooms stood as silent reminders of a fading prosperity. The polished tables, once the site of bold decisions and confident deals, now reflected only the dim light and the absence of hope. Meetings grew shorter, and the seats around the table remained unclaimed, as if the company's future was too uncertain for anyone to take a stand. The air was thick with anxiety, a storm brewing just out of sight. Outside, dark clouds gathered over the city, mirroring the tension inside. Every glance out the window was a reminder that trouble was looming, and the sense of impending crisis grew with each passing day. Laughter had vanished, replaced by hushed conversations and nervous glances. Employees huddled in corners, their voices barely above a whisper, sharing rumors and fears that no one dared to say aloud. The camaraderie that once defined the office had dissolved, leaving only suspicion and unease. Employees moved with hesitation, their faith in the company eroding with every new headline and whispered secret. The once confident stride of Bayou's staff had become a slow shuffle, weighed down by doubt and the fear of what tomorrow might bring. The numbers, once a source of pride, now whispered of inconsistencies and hollow promises. Financial reports arrived with more red than black, and accountants pored over spreadsheets, searching for answers that never came. The foundation of trust that Bayou was built on began to crack, as the truth behind the numbers became harder to ignore. Samuel Israel III, once a commanding presence, had become a shadow, elusive and distant. Once he inspired confidence with every word, but now he was rarely seen, slipping through the halls like a ghost. His absence spoke volumes, fueling speculation and deepening the sense of crisis. Investors, once eager, now asked pointed questions that had no easy answers. Their trust, once freely given, was now guarded, and every meeting was a test. The optimism that had filled the boardroom was replaced by skepticism, as investors demanded transparency and accountability that Bayou could no longer provide. The pressure mounted, squeezing the life out of Bayou's carefully crafted image. Managers struggled to maintain composure, their confidence eroding under the relentless scrutiny. Every decision felt like a gamble, and the weight of expectation became almost unbearable. Cracks began to show, the facade crumbling under the weight of secrets. The once pristine image of Bayou was tarnished, and the company's reputation, built over years, began to unravel in a matter of weeks. The sense of foreboding was unmistakable, a slow-motion collapse unfolding before everyone's eyes. Each day more employees left, their departures a silent testament to the unraveling trust, and the growing sense that the end was near. The storm wasn't just coming. For many, it had already arrived. The sound of rain against the windows became a constant reminder of the turmoil within, as if the building itself was mourning what had been lost. The chill of dread hinted at devastation yet to come, a warning that the worst was still ahead. In the shadows of Bayou's once great halls, hope was fading, and the true cost of deception was only beginning to reveal itself. Samuel Israel III's name carried the weight of legacy and ambition. Raised in the world of commodities trading, he craved more than comfort. He wanted significance. In 1996, he founded the Bayou Group, his supposed masterpiece. Based in Stamford, Connecticut, Bayou promised independence and financial wizardry. Early whispers of success drew investors hungry for high returns. Israel's charisma made people believe in his vision. Bayou's assets swelled, its reputation seemingly solid. But beneath the surface, questions lingered. Was this ambition genuine, or was it the start of something darker? The seeds of destruction were sown early, hidden beneath ambition's glossy veneer. Bayou wasn't just a hedge fund, it was a house of cards built on lies. As market realities failed to match Israel's promises, the deceptions began. Losses were hidden, numbers falsified, and investors fed a steady diet of fabricated profits. Israel, with CFO Daniel Marino, even created a fake accounting firm to audit Bayou's books. These phony audits reassured investors, masking the growing fraud. Every statement, every report was carefully crafted to maintain the illusion. The scheme required constant vigilance, a high-wire act with no safety net. The pressure to keep the lies alive was immense. Bayou's kingdom was built on shifting sands, destined to collapse. The truth, buried deep, was waiting to surface. For years, the illusion held strong. Investors, both seasoned and new, bought into the story Bayou spun, a tale of steady returns and prudent management. The numbers always seemed to add up, and the air of confidence projected by the firm's leaders was enough to keep doubts at bay. But beneath the surface, the truth was far more fragile than anyone realized. Slowly, almost imperceptibly at first, cracks began to show. There were unexplained delays in financial reports, vague and evasive answers to routine questions, and a growing defensiveness from management whenever anyone probed too deeply. Small discrepancies, numbers that didn't quite match, figures that seemed out of place, began to plant seeds of doubt among even the most loyal investors. Whispers of concern started to circulate in hushed tones. In the high-stakes world of hedge funds, even a hint of opacity was enough to set off alarm bells. The pressure to maintain the illusion grew heavier with each passing day. By 2004 and 2005, the scale of the fraud, an astonishing $450 million, made the lies harder and harder to sustain. The numbers were simply too big to hide forever. Larger, more sophisticated investors began to demand greater transparency. They wanted to see the real numbers, to understand exactly where their money was going. The pressure for answers was mounting. For Samuel Israel and his inner circle, this scrutiny was terrifying. They knew that allowing outsiders to see the truth would mean the end. Fear and paranoia began to take hold. Redemption requests, investors asking for their money back, became landmines, each one threatening to blow the whole operation wide open. Every email, every phone call, was a potential disaster. The walls of Bayou groaned under the strain of mounting secrets. The atmosphere inside the firm grew tense, as if everyone was waiting for something to snap. The end, though not yet visible, was closing in fast. Time was running out, and everyone could feel it. The pressure was relentless, and the carefully constructed facade that had fooled so many was beginning to crumble. The truth was no longer something that could be hidden with clever accounting or confident words. Investors' trust, once the foundation of Bayou's success, was eroding rapidly. The truth was on the verge of breaking through, threatening to destroy everything in its path. The collapse was no longer a question of if, but when. The countdown had begun, and there was no turning back. As the walls closed in, the psychological toll on Samuel Israel III was crushing. The once confident financier became a prisoner of his own lies. Paranoia set in. He believed he was being watched, his behavior grew erratic. The fear of discovery haunted every moment. Sleep vanished, replaced by anxiety and desperation. The options narrowed: confess and face ruin, or keep running and risk everything. Rational thought gave way to panic. Israel's charm and bravado faded, leaving only a haunted, desperate man. The pressure cooker was about to explode. The descent into darkness was swift and terrifying. A desperate act was looming. On June 9, 2008, the story took a dramatic turn. Samuel Israel III's SUV was found abandoned on the Bear Mountain Bridge. "Suicide is painless," was scrawled in dust on the hood, a chilling theatrical message. Facing a 20-year prison sentence, Israel appeared to have chosen death over disgrace. The scene was cinematic: the empty car, the cryptic message, the river below. Authorities treated it as a suicide, and the media ran with the story. For a moment it seemed Israel had written his own tragic ending. But doubts lingered. Was this truly the end, or another elaborate deception? The message felt strangely performative, almost like a final act in a long-running con. Investigators began to question the scene. Was this suicide or the ultimate escape? The suicide narrative quickly unraveled, leaving investigators with more questions than answers. What initially seemed like a tragic end was, in fact, the beginning of a far more complex mystery. The scene at the bridge was almost too perfect, meticulously arranged, as if someone had followed a script. There was no body, no splash, no evidence that anyone had actually jumped. The absence of physical proof gnawed at the detectives, who began to suspect that what they were seeing was a carefully orchestrated illusion. As the investigation deepened, the focus shifted dramatically. Was it possible that Israel had faked his own death to slip through the cracks of justice? The idea seemed outlandish at first, but the mounting inconsistencies forced everyone to reconsider. Israel had every reason to disappear. He possessed the motive, the financial means, and a long history of deception that made such a scheme plausible. He was no stranger to living a double life, and now it seemed he had pulled off his most audacious trick yet. With the suicide theory collapsing, authorities launched a full-scale manhunt. Israel Keyes was no longer presumed dead. He was now a wanted fugitive, his face plastered on wanted posters and his name whispered in law enforcement circles across the country. The investigation took a dramatic turn when his girlfriend, Deborah Ryan, broke under pressure. She confessed to helping Israel stage the suicide, providing crucial details about how they had planned his escape together. Instead of leaping to his death, Israel had quietly driven away from the bridge under the cover of darkness, vanishing into the night while police searched the waters below. As more evidence surfaced, the truth became undeniable. The suicide was nothing more than a hoax, another elaborate layer in Israel's web of deceit. Each new discovery revealed just how far he was willing to go to evade capture. For weeks he hid out in an old RV deep in the woods of Massachusetts, living off the grid and plotting his next move, always one step ahead of the law. The public's image of a desperate man on a bridge was shattered, replaced by the chilling reality of a calculating fugitive who had outsmarted everyone. The hunt for Israel intensified. Law enforcement agencies coordinated across state lines, determined to bring him to justice. It was clear now, Israel hadn't just escaped, he had mocked the entire justice system. He was no longer just a fraudster. He had become a ghost in the machine, a shadowy figure slipping through the cracks, always just out of reach, and leaving a trail of questions in his wake. Israel's freedom was short-lived. For nearly a month he evaded capture, hiding in a motorhome. Deborah Ryan's confession turned the search into a high-priority manhunt. On July 2, 2008, Israel surrendered in Southwick, Massachusetts. The high-flying financier was reduced to a fugitive in an RV park. His capture ended the bizarre chapter of his faked death. The legal consequences he tried to escape were now unavoidable. Additional charges for his escape attempt only deepened his downfall. The justice system was ready to deliver its verdict. There would be no more illusions, only the reality of a prison cell. The Bayou saga didn't end with Israel's capture. The damage rippled outward, hundreds of millions lost, lives upended. Israel hadn't just stolen money, he'd shattered trust in the financial system. The fraud scale led to calls for tighter regulations and greater transparency. The psychological toll on victims was profound: betrayal, anger, and lasting scars. Bayou became a cautionary tale whispered in boardrooms. Israel's legacy is one of betrayal and the catastrophic cost of unchecked ambition. The collapse serves as a warning. Trust, once broken, is hard to rebuild. The memory of Bayou's dark descent remains a chilling reminder of the dangers lurking behind financial facades.